We tapped in. We tapped in. Let me get everyone involved. Okay. We are tapped in. Alrighty. We are live. Hey, Teej. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've got a lot to talk about. Welcome, welcome. This is What We Watch Wednesday, the very last House of the Dragon space for quite some time. Quite some time. And this is just where we're at with it. As everyone's coming in and you are tweeting and sharing, I do want to say that as this is the last space for House of the Dragon, we are going to get into it. There's no limitations today. But right before we get started, I have to let you guys know what's next. What is next for What We Watch Spaces Weekly? We've been rocking for 7 weeks here, nonstop. Thank you to our lovely co-host Tej. But now we have Industry HBO. A friend of What We Watch, a dear, dear friend of What We Watch, is the showrunner of HBO's Industry, Mickey Down, with his co-showrunner, Conrad McKay. But Mickey Down is a great friend of the show and supportive of the film festival and everything that we do here, so definitely tap in. And I say this to say today's What We Watch recommendation is Industry HBO Season 3 comes out tomorrow. So if you haven't caught up, obviously you need to watch Season 1 and Season 2. You got a week. Don't get too far behind on Season 3 because I know they're about to go in. And it's a perfect segue because Kit Harington of the Game of Thrones series, lore, epic, anything you want to call it, will be on Industry HBO, and you saw his comments earlier today about how he feels about watching House of the Dragon itself. So, but anyways, that is What We Watch Wednesday. We are here to talk House of the Dragon Season 2 finale. Tej, we've got some feelings. We've got some feelings, and we need to talk about why we enjoy what we watch. And this finale seemed to disappoint quite a few. And if you have any tweets, come on up and share. Click the bottom heart with the plus sign and come on up. Tej, kick us off.
Obviously, some very controversial opinions out there about the finale. I do have some notes. It was not a perfect finale, but I thought it was a pretty good episode of television that I was never bored by. It's a little weird that I feel like you're supposed to look at a good season of TV or a great season of TV as a story of its own, even though we know it's a part of a larger story, obviously. It's the second season of the show, and that's going to have a third and fourth season. But it's supposed to tell a story of its own, a mini version of the story that fits in the larger narrative. And so to get 20 minutes with the Triarchy and Essos in our finale, while I was fine with that 20 minutes in terms of like, you know, that's compelling TV. I liked our new character that we met. It was some funny banter and dynamics with the mud fighting. But getting that as opposed to, I don't know, seeing Reyna get on the dragon that she's been chasing all season, or getting that as opposed to seeing a Stark who we started the season seeing a Stark in the north, or getting that as opposed to getting more closure, figuring out why the fuck Otto is in prison. Like Otto is in prison in a cell somewhere, and we have no idea why he's there. We just see that he's there, and we're left to make our own guesses. Getting a scene with the Triarchy for 20 minutes as opposed to getting those things that they've already been building towards is just weird. Like, imagine, there's been shows in the past, not saying it's going to be this show, hopefully not, but there's been shows in the past that other seasons were planned in the future, and those seasons, for whatever reason, didn't come to fruition. So imagine if this is our last episode of House of the Dragon because something happens or whatever could happen, and we got 20 minutes of Triarchy footage in it that we'll always look back on and say, what the fuck was this about? Like, why did we get this in the finale of season two? So It wasn't perfect, but seeing Rhaenyra and Allison in the same room was cinema. It was well acted. It was perfect. It was great. Getting the end of the Damon at Harrenhal storyline, it was a bit weird because he could have just saw what he saw with the weirwood tree, and maybe we didn't have to watch him have those visions for 6 months. But we got the
So my question is, can everyone hear me?
yeah, you were lagged out, but you're back.
I'm lagged out. Okay. My question is, what does make a good finale for a season? Maybe this begs the question now because I see a lot of the audience, a lot of the viewers, a lot of dedicated people to this season, to this show, to the Game of Thrones universe, quite kind of having quite a bit to say. So is this tell me, have you ever seen any other season finales that you didn't enjoy? You know, what makes a good season finale? What makes a bad season finale? What specifically were you missing? Like, that's what's coming up in my head now as I'm watching everyone talk, and then I'll share my perspective as well. But Matt, go ahead. What are we missing, and what makes a good season finale? Because it's difficult. To Cheech's point, we've got season 1, 2, and 3, and 4. At least we've been told so far. So how does that compare to other shows, and what are we missing?
It's interesting, right? We were talking about this the other week, and I feel like the difference between this show and Game of Thrones is that the source material, there is a good amount of source material, but it is really different, right? A Song of Ice and Fire is a novel. It's from the point of view of the characters. And then, not House of the Dragon, excuse me. Fire and Blood is very much like, it reads like a history. And it's kind of boring in that way. You'll get a lot about like these different characters, and then it might be, ooh, I'm really invested in this Targaryen. Okay, she's dead now. On to the next generation, and it's very like abrupt, and it's very uneven in terms of like what you get out of it. And I feel like the show kind of represents that, because what this episode, to Teja's point, it's a good episode of TV. I was locked in the whole time. It's just more that this felt like a mid-season finale. This is what you get before you go on like a few-month break, not when you go on a 2-year break. So I'm not sure what makes a good season finale, but when you're ending gearing up for the exact same conflict that you were gearing up for at the end of season one, it feels as if we've all been, not misled, not, I don't want to say blue balled. I'm sorry, Mo. I don't know what else to say, but I mean that's the only way I can describe it. It's like, wow, this was all build up for season three. Not that it was a bad season of television by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that it felt uneven at times, and it's like, okay, we've been waiting for this conflict, and you didn't even give us the Damon Aemon ball. There was no payoff that we were waiting for.
Right.
We needed something more.
Right. And it's interesting too because that is another conversation that we've had about it, right? Is it a mid-season finale? Is it okay if we didn't know that we were waiting another 2 years? What if we knew we were waiting 2 months? But I was talking to Tej about this, and this is like a chicken or the egg situation, right? Was it because it's 2 years, or is it just how the television the finale worked, and whether it's 2 years or 2 months, we're not feeling too well, right? Because how do you know how long it's going to be, and you don't always get that. And I think I think it's fair to say I don't know what does make a good season finale. I don't know, right? But I think we should explore that in this space here at What We Watch, because there is something to be said about the fact that we were gearing up for this in season 1. We were gearing up for it in season 2. Are we going to gear up for it in season 3 and season 4 again? Are we just going to wait until the end of season 4? And it's interesting, what kind of pacing do we want for this? The entire show, as we understand it, as people that really enjoyed the television or the episode would say, it's about the war. It's about the fall of the Targaryens. And is that the war? Is that why we're not getting it season 1, season 2, maybe even season 3? But because I feel like HBO does such brilliant TV shows, it's interesting. We could get 17 episodes of war. Don't be cowards. We could get 17 episodes of war. And then Tej came back and said, well, we are getting the war. We've seen a couple of battles. We've seen the battles at Rook Rest. We've seen a couple moments with Vagar making a U-turn. Like, so talk to me more about that. Jay, we was. Go ahead. I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the finale. It's just like Matt said, it was just like blue ball the episode. It was just like, here's all this promise that you won't get to see for 2 years. It's just like we've been like, for example, Damon's plot line. It's like we've been building for 8 episodes just for him to come back to Rhaenyra. Could have happened like 5 episodes ago. It feels like we wasted a lot of time this season in like doing a lot of nothing sometimes. Like conversation what's his name? Cole had with Allison's sister. I mean sorry, brother, where like they confess like, "Oh, you've been sleeping with my sister." That's the that's the hand of the king. That's the captain of the Kingsguard. Why is that not a bigger deal? It's like you're introducing all these things that we're not gonna get to see for 2 years. Season finales are supposed to end the
So if
season.
it was, question, if it was 1 year, would you feel better?
Not really. I feel like it's just like
If it was 5 months, would you feel better?
I don't know if time for me will fix it. Like, 'cause it's just I feel like they set up a lot of stuff. This just feels like the second episode before the finale. This feels like, okay, next week we're
It
gonna come
feels
back
like the
and we're gonna see
penultimate.
the finale. But they're just like, hey,
Right.
we're gonna have battles, we're gonna have deaths, but you won't get to see it yet. And it's just like, what have we been spending this whole season doing? Like Alicent's whole spiel, like, "Oh, I want to make peace now." It's like there's so many characters where I feel like we're done wrong. Like they don't know how to handle Rhaenyra's anger towards like her son dying, or Alicent. How in the book she's much more angry when it comes to the blood and cheese situation. She wants blood, and it's like they
Mm.
just they instead of making these characters people, they just made them like just little dolls. And none of the things that have happened over the past few seasons matter.
I feel that. I feel that. It's interesting. If does anybody want to say what if it wasn't enough, what did you need? And I'll answer after that, but I want to ask what did you want? Right? Oops, am I lagging again? What did you want out of the season 2 finale? If there is war, which, it can be argued that we've been at war this entire time. I referenced Rhaenys, RIP to Rhaenys, right before when she's talking to Rhaenyra, and she's like, at some point, there was such a bar, and I'm definitely going to butcher it, but the idea was at some point no one's even going to remember what started the war. And we could go back as far as we want to say what began the war, which in that moment meant something specific to what Rhaenyra was feeling. But overall, we have to think about it as the show as well. Are we not currently in the war? When did the war start? Are we sure it hasn't started yet? And so, what did we not get a war this entire season, or were we just wanting to see more dragons, more, head to head, more, moments where we see, like whoever said the Daemon and Aemon thing, more? I mean, we got the Alicent and Rhaenyra, but we already got that. So to me, that scene didn't hit as hard, and it definitely felt like a departure from the source material, even though I have not read it, because if we've already gotten that, and that floored us in the beginning of this season, but now it's like, okay, well, she came back begging, because Alicent has been embarrassing this entire season. I'll never get over it how embarrassing she's been, you know. So what did you want to see? What did you want to see, Nap Escobar?
Well, so there was a lot that I was left wanting for, but I'll start with answering the question you just said, right? You said, are we not in a war? So, like, just a little personal story. I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. I was a captain. So, war is like an endless cycle, right? There are multiple phases and stages of war. So, yes, we like the war has started, and the war started forever ago, and we're in the war. But the people, us, the viewers, for the entertainment, we don't want to see the staging like phases of the war. We're not here for that. Sure, some dialogue, like in Game of Thrones, like the showrunners did a great job with how they paced everything with the staging and then the actual battles. with House of the Dragons, I think they're clueless. I think they're so clueless with how they're doing this because for some reason they have this sense of grandeur that they can do a better job of storytelling than George R. R. Martin. I There's nothing wrong with adding some little pieces here and there, but when you're changing entire plot lines, like you're taking the piss out of it. And if you're gonna do that, at least just give us heads being removed from shoulders with great swords. Give us lances and pikes. Like give us some death because like the storytelling has just been too much. I think multiple people have said it. This would be like in a 10 episode season. This being the eighth episode, I'd stand up and clap. Absolutely, this is a great episode. But if this is where you're gonna leave us for 2 years, I'm appalled. Like I feel like I've been disrespected.
Would you feel differently if they left you for one
No,
year?
I would feel exactly the same way. Don't give me nothing and then make me wait an extended amount of time. If this was episode 8 and then episode 9 was coming on in 4 days, no problem, you know. But I think his name was Jay. He mentioned it. Rhaenyra in the books after after Lucerys's death, she's angry. She lost a son, and there's like that's how season 1 ended, and then season 2 it's just been oh, this not even brought up, and then Allison lost a grandson, and then it's just been okay. Like what are we really doing here? You know, like what are we doing? Where's the emotion? It's like they pick like a certain flaw in the characters, the showrunners. They pick one of the flaws, like a certain personality of the characters, and like they seem to act as if like humans are multifaceted. They're not one dimensional. We're multifaceted. Like multiple, they can feel and react to multiple things, you know. And I feel like they just do a terrible job. Like I said, they're adding too much dialogue. They're adding too much that doesn't like. We didn't need Allison going to Dragonstone. I actually laughed when that happened. I started laughing, and
I'm
my
with
friends
you.
are like, they're
Yeah,
like, this doesn't happen in the book. I'm like, no, the fuck it doesn't, bro. No,
I would have laughed her off the stage if it was a theatrical
yeah,
performance. There's no
but
way. Let
that's
me
just my
let,
thing.
let me let Tej speak because I have my feelings and I'm definitely going to share them. But Tej, go ahead. Thank you, Nap
The
Escobar.
biggest mistake, and there were many of them, but the biggest mistake that they made in the end of Game of Thrones was they took a show that, despite the highs that y'all remember about the spectacle, they took a show that people fell in love with because of the other stuff, the substance of the show, the characters, the way we felt about the characters. That was why Game of Thrones worked. Period. It's Shakespearean. It's a formula that has worked since the beginning of television. People like a Shakespearean style drama with people talking in rooms. That's why Game of Thrones works. Now, those last couple seasons, they were just like, fuck yeah, we got fucking dragons, and we got an ice dragon. We're just gonna throw that shit on the screen. Plot be damned. So I think that they are trying to be sensitive to that by doing something like this. And I understand that. I have beef with the execution of it, but I would much rather this be the issue than the issue be we just got a whole bunch of dragons fighting on screen. Because if we're gonna stretch this out to 4 seasons, because capitalism, if we have a dragon fighting on screen every episode, I guarantee you this show is going to get boring. And not to mention the fact that rendering those dragons is the most expensive part of the process, the hardest part of the process, and the part of the process that takes the longest. So I think that there are at least some people whose biggest issue with the season, and they're not saying it in this space because maybe they're not in this space, but reading the timeline when that finale aired, people wanted more spectacle in this finale. Period. That's what they wanted. If they have the same episode but tack on 15 minutes of a dragon fight at the end, people are like, yeah, amazing finale. Amazing. So what people really wanted was a big dragon fight. I have a couple issues with that. One, I would have loved a big dragon fight. So let me not act like I wouldn't have liked a big dragon fight too. I like seeing the dragons fight. It's fucking awesome. But one, that doesn't and that doesn't change the thrill of seeing it. Seeing them do a Jurassic Park-like set piece with people and the dragons is fucking cool, and that was their big show. They had two big set pieces in this season. One was the Red Sewing, the other one was the Battle of Rook's Rest. So we got two big set pieces. If you go back to watch any episode, any season of Game of Thrones that you love, you won't see more than 2 or 3 big set pieces. I guarantee you. So I don't think the issue with this season is that they needed more set pieces. I don't think the issue with this finale is that they needed more set pieces. I think the issue is that they put the wrong people on stage for the last episode at times. Like, obviously, and I could not disagree more that I don't want to see Rhaenyra in the same room as Alicent. That's what this show was built on. The show is called House of the Dragons, which means this show is about the house. It's not about the dragons. Rhaenyra and Alicent in the same room is exactly why we're watching this show and why people keep tuning back into this show. Obviously, there's always been a promise of dragons on screen fighting, but what we really need is Rhaenyra and Alicent in rooms together disagreeing about stuff, because that's where we started. And so I like the fact that we got that in this episode. That's something that was, to me, as big as and as important as anything that we saw this season. Those two scenes with Alicent and Rhaenyra together this season were two of the biggest scenes in the history of this show to me, and two of the most important scenes in the history of the show to me. And so I was glad that we got yet another one of those.
All right, I see Matt and Nap. Can I speak? Can I speak for as the founder of What We Watch?
Sure.
I disagree with like 90% of what you just said. You were spitting some, but I disagree with most of what you just said. Let's start with the assertion of why Game of Thrones failed in the last, let's just call it 1 season and a half. I revisit season 6 and 7 quite often. Let's address why. Why did Game of Thrones fail in season 8? And, failure is all subjective, but everything we do, this entire conversation is subjective. But we know why people were mad. Number one, it departed from source material. There was nothing else to go off of. So we just kind of started rambling and doing stuff as writers and showrunners, okay? Capitalism, to your point. Number two, because there was no source material, there was no source material, and maybe people just aren't as good as they think they are. We did not commit to what the characters would have done or would have experienced or how they would have died in the end of the show. To me, that's why it didn't work. That is why. Source material and the investment in the characters, which you did touch on. For me, where the set pieces come in, they're important. It is disingenuous to say that we are not watching House of the Dragon to see some dragons. That's disingenuous to say. We could have, if we just wanted a house thing, we could have watched House of the Lannisters, or whatever their slogan is. We could have watched House of the whatevers. So we absolutely are here for dragons. But since Game of Thrones, since this story, since this empire is so beautiful, this universe is so beautiful, we are committed to the Shakespearean, the two people in a room chit-chatting, bantering, getting in each other's asses, threatening each other, like all of that works. But what season 2, the finale specifically, didn't do well, to me, it's absolutely a lack of the dragon set pieces. It's absolutely a lack of that. And here's why. The reason why it works is that, okay, to your point, season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Game of Thrones had maybe 2 or 3 big set pieces throughout the entire show that featured dragons, right? But to me, there's no way there's too many dragons in a show called House of the Dragons. There could be a dragon fight every episode. I'm locked in. I'm happy. There's no way that it makes it worse. There's no way that more dragon scenes makes this show worse. No way. No way. Now, if we're saying the dragons die because of certain reasons that we don't really like we were all devastated by the ice dragon, but we were all devastated by the ice dragon because he used to be our dragon, and then he became the Night King's dragon. So that made sense. But I think it's disingenuous to say, no, give me more dragons in House of the Dragon. And the reason why this finale didn't work is because of that, and because what you said too, which is the 10% I agree with, is that we didn't have the right people on screen doing the right things. We had the right people on screen, but what the were they doing? What are we doing? What is the end goal here? Why did we end season 1 ended better than season 2 to me. It was a way better. We ended with the devastation and the loss of a son. That, let's be honest, guys, because my big thing is investment in characters. I'm not going to sit up here and say I was that invested in Lucerys himself, the baby boy himself. But you know why I was invested in him? Let's guess why I was invested in Lucerys. Because he had a dragon. And number two, because he was Rhaenyra's son, who also has a dragon. Okay, so we got a lot of people. We got the right people on screen, but we ain't got them next to the dragons, in front of the dragons, killing on the dragons, flying the dragons going at each other. Even if no dragons die, I want to see dragons flying and burning up some stuff. And I think that is where, because someone said earlier, oh, we didn't see any heads rolling, we didn't see any death. We did. There was a ton of death in season 2. The season 2 finale, but we didn't get to see it happen, okay? And so quite frankly, we're just a bunch of sickos. We're just a bunch of sickos that really want to see some sick stuff. And House of the Dragon, it's not our fault, okay? Game of Thrones set this up for us that we want to see a lot of sick stuff, and so House of the Dragon isn't giving us enough sicko stuff. It gave us a little bit, but Game of Thrones, for every 3 episodes, you got 1.5 bomb ass set pieces. We got to witness the people be devoured or kill other people, or just do all this sick stuff. We got to see it on screen. Season 2 finale works. I promise you the ratings are better just from the internet right itself if we actually get to see Vhagar and Aemon burn up that city. But did we get that? No. We got to see them sitting on the dragon while the city was burned up. We want to see the dragon flying. We want to see that. We want to be like, oh shit. And then cut to the fact that, oh my gosh, he just did this and he's doing this and this is the effect of that. So that's how I feel about it. I want to welcome King Himbo to the stage. You are a new What We Watch person, I believe. Have you been in one before?
No, this is my first one. Thanks for having me. Tej, what up, dude?
Welcome.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with the season. I've read all the books multiple times. I thought there was too much exposition. There was too many scenes of council meetings, too many scenes of characters, on some sort of veranda, looking out to the sea and stuff like that. What I was looking for in this last episode was the Battle of the Gullet, that set piece. I was, I thought the season was bogged down, but I had hope that the last episode was going to give us the Battle of the Gullet. I think that is going to happen maybe in the first 2 seasons or first 2 episodes of season 3. But I was disappointed that it didn't happen in this season. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Nap said. Too much talking, not a lot of action. Although the action that was there was good, but I think we needed more. The season was a kind of like one big dick tease, if you ask me.
So crazy. It's
Go ahead.
You done? It's interesting, and I'll let Angela speak next. Angela, you finna take us on a whole nother thing. I know you come in here, you got your gripes, you got your defendants, but I do want you to tap in with what we're saying too, and tell me what you needed more, or if you absolutely love this season, or this season finale. But I will say, there's one thing about the criticism of too much exposition. You won't have that criticism if you enjoy the exposition, if it reveals a lot about a character that you didn't know, if someone's sneakily revealing something about someone else, or someone's shading someone else or threatening someone else. You don't care. You don't actually hate exposition when you say it's too much, because there's never too much exposition, because, and this is Tej's bag, this is my bag. Some of the best television we have ever seen is not the dragons flying around and taking each other's heads off. Bad girl Vhagar. It's the 2 people in the room going crazy, talking to each other crazy. It's across the board. It's for House of the Dragon. It's for Game of Thrones. When we're revealing with Rhaenyra, ain't no dragons there, but she got the dragon egg. She's talking to her man, and we just get these moments with these 2 characters, and maybe there's people around them. That's what works for all of these television shows, even industry HBO. It's just a bunch of scenes with 2 people in a room, and we're learning about the character. So it's interesting that the criticism is exposition, because I come back and say, maybe you just didn't like the exposition. Maybe we're just exposing stuff that isn't need to be exposed or something that we already deeply understand. And so we want to see the aftermath. We want to see the consequence. And that is what it is, Tej, and I'll let you go after Angela. We want to see the consequences of these people's actions. And we feel like there's just been, more chatter. And I respect this group that, like, it's too much chatter going on as far as like who we are and why we did what we did and how we're responding. Let's have some sick shit pop off. Go ahead, Angela, and then Teach.
So hey Mo, how you doing? And I wanna first and foremost thank you for acknowledging that I like to spit out some hot takes. I think season two was perfect. It was the perfect season to sort of build into what we're getting next. My critique of it is, and I genuinely don't understand how. I think it's you get to see how of a complex character she is, which I really did appreciate. Um, but my only other critique though is like Damon changed his ways because he was like, okay, my bloodline is gonna save the future. And then season 8 was some bullshit. So like that's another thing that like I'm annoyed with. But like when I think back to it, I really did enjoy this season. Like I it's rewatchable, the dialogue, and just again the acting of the show. Every character, every major character on the show needs to be nominated for an Emmy.
I absolutely agree. I watched. Don't let me get the white male TV host wrong. It's either Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, whoever. I saw the actor that plays Damon on there, and I absolutely loved him. His personality. He spoke some High Valyrian, so check that out when you can too. It's interesting. I think you made a great point, which is and I'll talk industry and the business side of things because that is why we're here at What We Watch, to kind of understand the art and appreciate the artist, but also understand how it's affected by the dinero. But Angela, I love that you said that season one's pacing was so different than season two, and that might have had an effect on our expectations. Tej, go ahead.
I'm not gonna say the season was perfect, but I'm much closer to Angela than anybody else in this room in terms of what I feel about the season as a whole. But I just have three facts that up, and these are undisputed facts. Fact one: there are more dragons in season two than there are in season one. That's a fact. Two: we literally meet a new dragon in the finale of this show. Y'all said y'all wanted more dragons. We quite literally met a new dragon in the season finale of this show. That's fact. Three: they were criticized last year and rightfully so. Sorry, last season and rightfully so, because they felt like things were moving too quickly, and they wanted it to be more paced out like Game of Thrones. So because we have jammed 30 years worth of stuff, literally 30 years worth of stuff into the first season, people didn't like the breakneck speed of that. I was perfectly fine with it, but if I had my druthers, we would have slowed down just a tad. We would have had, instead of 5 episodes with Millie Alcock and the young versions of our two lead characters, we would have had probably 7 or 8 episodes with them. But that's fine. We got 5 and 5 episodes where we got the new cast and the 6th episode, whatever. So they were criticized for going too fast, despite the fact that Game of Thrones, for how perfect it is in the first 4, 5, 6 seasons of it, we have a lot more people to put on stage. Our bench was so deep on Game of Thrones that they literally took Bran away for a season, and nobody complained partly because Bran sucked, but he literally just did not pop up, and nobody was like, "Where's Bran?" Because we didn't give a fuck about Bran. You can't do that in this show because we have less players that we care about. Like, even this season, we have new people that we care about now. We've got new Dragon Riders. We've got Corlys' bastard sons. So we have more characters, but those people are not ready to be primetime on a Tuesday night to have people tune in, right? They can't go be the LeBron James of a Tuesday because LeBron James is hurt for a month. So we don't have a lot of people that we can depend on to saddle the show to where you could spend 20 minutes with them and not feel like something's missing. So I feel like they were in a weird spot where they were supposed to and trying to slow down and develop characters, but also you don't have a deep enough bench to do what we did on Game of Thrones. However, that doesn't absolve them for the mistakes that they made. However, I think it is a ludicrous thing to say that this episode of TV or any episode of TV has too much talking in it. That's the most insane thing that I've ever heard. I don't even know. And whoever said that in this space is not the first or the last person to say that. That was all over my timeline, so I'm not coming at you. I think that's crazy. Like Game of Thrones, for all the things that you like about it, it is a show about people talking. That's literally the show that we're watching. I understand that we all love the dragons. And don't get me wrong, Mo. You know I love the dragons. Like, the dragons are fun.
No, I don't know if you really do love the dragons. I feel like
I
you're
don't
just
need to see
telling
the
us that you
dragons
love the
fighting
dragons.
every week.
I don't think you really know what love and passion is for Vhagar, and I'm trying to get over that. It's a very toxic relationship. I think I love Sea Smoke and Cyrax more, but like, Tej, do you really love the dragons? Do you really love my
I do love
girls?
the dragons, but if I'm being real, I'm not. The reason for me watching the show isn't to see the dragons fight. I'm excited about seeing the dragons fight, and I'm happy that we've seen the dragons fight this much so far. But I'm really watching the show to see a family that tears itself apart so much that by the time we catch up to their lineage 300 years later, they don't even exist anymore. So, and I just, to go back to a previous point, it is so weird to go to Essos and meet up with the Triarchy and have 20 minutes when those 20 minutes could have been devoted to the small folk who are going to matter, because the reason why the Targaryens are not going to be in power is not just because the dragons are going to fight and everybody's going to die. It's because the people are going to realize we don't want to be ruled by Targaryens anymore. So we have to the only small folk that we actually spend any time with, because Monique kept saying the small folk are going to matter this season. We're spending time with them; they're going to matter. I agree with that. However, were the only small folk that matter were the ones that were going to ride dragons? I hate that. I don't like that. I don't want to only figure out what the small folk are doing to meet people that are eventually going to be on dragons. But what the small folk think, most of the small folk will never touch a dragon. And what we're going to, you can't just pop up at the end of season 4 and say, oh yeah, most of the Targaryens are dead, but now the people don't want to be ruled by the Targaryens anymore. No, you have to track that. You have to track that from the ground level. And I just think it's a missed opportunity. Give 10 of those minutes to the small folk, not the ones that are just going to be on dragons. I thought that was a weird decision. The Esso stuff, again, it's fine. It's good. I enjoyed it. But it doesn't belong here. That could have started out season 3 and everybody would have been happy with it.
I agree. I fully agree. We got 15 and a half minutes of a woman saying you can fuck my wives to a new character. And, great. But, like, not finale, right? That's like season 3, episode 1 or 2. You know what I mean? Like, and, I think this representation of the small folk and the story carried on. I would push back just a little bit on that. I think it was well done. I don't think it's just that they would end up being dragons, but it is fair that, like, in the finale we could have had more of that story. I'm sure we'll get more in season 3, but because, like, when Rhaenyra sent food over, we've seen no effect of that. And to me, that's the issue. I definitely think this is if season 2 was a test I got all of the questions right. And then the last one was an open ended question for an additional 15 bonus points. And I got 0 points, right? And so it's like I get every question right, but I could have got 115, but I ended up getting a 100. But it's like, how did I miss this bonus question, open ended question? Like, it was just so, you could have done anything. And so to me, that's why I agree. I think this season was phenomenal. We're having a great time. We've committed weekly to this, to chat for a few hours about this like, that's great television. But there's something about, being left with what we were left with that just feels disingenuous, right? It's a good season. It's a damn good season. But before I let Larry July speak, I want everybody in the room to think of this. Think of your favorite TV show right now. Think of your favorite TV show. You have it in your head. Right now, you have it in your head. The name of your favorite TV show, and then think of season 2 of that show. Just think of season 2 of that show. Your favorite TV show ever. Think of season 2 of that show. Do you even remember it? Do you remember what happened? Do you remember how you felt about it? Right? Was it in your top 5 or top 2 if it's only a 3, season show? How did you feel about season 2 of your favorite television show? Yes, Teej, we're talking about you
And
and
yeah,
The
I was
Wire.
gonna say, and also how everybody else reacted to season 2 or whatever show it is. I think that's important.
Yes, we're talking about, I'm going procedural drug. I don't know why, but like, think of season 2 of Snowfall. Think of season 2 of Game of Thrones. Think of season 2 of The Leftovers, Station 11, Industry. I mean,
Station 11 had a season 2.
Euphoria. Oh yeah, you're right. It was just
I
one
was about to say
season. That
I
was a
missed out
mini.
on that. I need to get on that
Way too
now.
good. Way too good. Thank you for, yes, way too good. I was thinking of The Last of Us. Thank you. Apocalyptic stuff. We didn't get season 2 of that either.
No, that's
Or we
coming though.
did.
That's in like the previews.
It's
Yeah.
coming though. It's coming though. So we'll see how we feel about that. There's season 2 of a lot of TV shows. Again, I've clearly, mentioned just my favorite TV shows without thinking of season 2. A lot of my favorite TV shows are miniseries. But think about that and let me know how you feel. Season 2 occurred. How'd you feel about season 2 occurred? How'd you feel about season 2 of The Simpsons? How'd you feel about season 2 of Archer? BoJack Horseman. So go ahead, Larry July.
Hey, what's good, y'all? Um, Before I get to this season, I want to just reply to your point about how Game of Thrones tailed off on the end, and that's due that the responsibility of that lands at the foot of one person, and that's George R. R. Martin for failing to finish the books. There's no excuse. The especially season 8. I mean, the show just crashed and burned, in my opinion, as well as a lot of people didn't like season 8 because George didn't finish the books. And to me, there was no excuse for that. He dragged his feet for a long time. He still hasn't finished it. So, and you're absolutely right about your point about season 2 for shows in terms of where they stand now, looking back and how they progress for all shows like Curb and everything else. But I think the difference between what's going to happen with this series and the ones you brought up is a lot of those shows you brought up, they had a long runway to get where they're gonna go. Simpsons have been around for 28 seasons, more around that. Curb was 20 years, 12 seasons. Sopranos had 7 seasons. This is gonna get what, 4 seasons? So I don't know if it has the time to get where those other shows got to. I actually agree with Tej, which I hope I'm not gonna be hit with the Tej curse for saying this. But he's 1,000% right that expositions are dearly needed. Shakespearean drama, the byplay or the interplay between characters, Littlefinger. Topic again that's not gonna go anywhere. No, talk about something else or have something come from it except nothing. Do I need Damon on an ayahuasca retreat for 75% of the season. That's just the same thing over and over again. Move the plot along. And
I
I
agree.
agree with the dragons. It's like, yeah, is it cool? Yes. Is it exciting? Yeah. But there's only so many things you can do with the dragons. They fly, they burn shit, people die. But there's a lot more interesting things that happen between the characters that there's infinite things that they can discuss and things that can happen that the dragons just simply can't do. So while I agree it's House of
To
the Dragon, I think the characters are far more important.
I, I here's my thing. I think the dragons are a character and are characters, and they are far more important than all the other ones. But they can still be good. And I think you made my point that I was saying. I think after Knapp and King spoke about exposition again. There's never too much exposition if you like the exposition. If there were things that were revealed, if there were new ideas, we will have a whole nother. We'll talk about in what we watch for the next, on 100 Wednesdays. And there'll be another show that we watch, and it'll be exposition after exposition after exposition, and you will not hate it. Why? Because something will be revealed, something will change, so the stakes will, adjust. The ball will be in someone else's court. You don't hate exposition. That's what television is. And if there's new characters and new things to be done, we're gonna have the quote unquote exposition. But to your point, Larry, it's that we didn't enjoy it because it wasn't good, because there was nothing new that was revealed or nothing. And maybe someone has a good point of like, maybe there was stuff. Hey guys, you weren't paying attention and you're just thirsty for dragon blood. But secondly, I fully disagree on this dragon thing, guys. And this is why y'all could not be dragon riders. I'm just going to be very clear. All right. We absolutely want to see dragons, and we absolutely want to see the riders on their dragons and them blowing shit up. First of all, there's not a limited amount of things that dragons can do, because y'all had not up to this season seen a dragon cut off the head entirely of another dragon, and then that dragon's head, who's a god, be taken through the common folk, and everyone's flustered and shocked, and they feel like it's an omen. You've never seen that before in Game of Thrones or here. So you've seen the neck being bitten, but like we're talking about off. Like, we haven't seen that. So there's an unlimited amount of things we can do with the dragons. Fully disagree. We get dragon riders every time. So it's not like we only get the dragons. There's people on the dragons too. There are people on the dragons as well. They are our gods, and they choose their riders, and it is a godly, divine thing, and you will now strike fear and respect into other people. That is fucking cool. I don't care what anybody says. That's cool as shit. And there's no amount of dragons to me that's too
Can I get
much. Now, is it more important than other characters? Is it better? No, but I think it's so good. It's just as good. It's just as important. It's just as exciting. And in a finale, it wouldn't hurt to see some shit, fired up, some shit, maybe a dragon gets his wing hurt, maybe a dragon, damn near gets bloodied and has to be, taken down and hospitalized. I don't know what a hospital for a dragon looks like, but, whatever. Let's see a dragon get, healed and go off and fly off and go heal for a little bit. I don't know. So to me, that's what we're missing here. Go ahead, Nap Escobar.
Okay, thank you. So with Tej mentioning, he mentioned like the penultimate episodes are always like good stuff. The penultimate episode of this season was not good. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It wasn't. Okay, oh, wait, no, the sewing was okay. The sewing was okay, but like it wasn't like you mentioned season two of Game of Thrones. I remember season two of Game of Thrones like the back of my palm. Blackwater was episode 9 of season two. Everyone remembers the Battle of Blackwater.
Fire.
Literally. I can name you 10 very important, memorable moments from season two of Game of Thrones. Why? Because, and there were no dragons in Game of Thrones until, like, there were no, like, major dragon plays in Game of Thrones until later on. Why? Because the writing carried. And the writing for House of the Dragon season two has been lackluster. And that's me being kind. I could say a lot worse, but the writing has just lacked in everything. Because you have established characters, you have established enough, so then expand on that. Don't like it's like the triarchy scene. Why 20 minutes of that. Why? I like open up the episode of that. Fine, open it up and then let it go. But don't go back for like it. It's they're doing too much when they have so much more they can go off with because
They're doing too much and
yeah,
not
they're doing
enough.
too much and not enough at the same
It's
time.
like,
Like build off of what
you
you
know what
have.
season two
What
is?
was that?
Season two is when you ask your man to do something and you say, "Hey babe, can you start taking the trash out every night?" And he forgets to take the trash out, but he brings you flowers every other Tuesday. And you're like, I do love flowers, but like that's not what I asked you to do. You know, it's like he bought you, a Chanel bag, but like it's not the color that you asked
Oh,
for. Okay, it's like thank you, but like this is not what I wanted. And so we get into these weird positions where and Napa might have lost you by now, but truly, like it's one of those things where no, it's not bad, and no, you didn't do a terrible job, but with the direction we were going, why are we doing this? This is not really the direction you chose to take us on. And I find it interesting that season one went too fast. And we use they. Who is they? Who is they that says season one went too fast? There's actually no way to understand pacing in too fast when you only have one season of a show. You have no idea what people are
I
going to
think
do.
the pacing of
And if
season one
it's the
was good.
source
I
material,
think the pacing was good.
I think it was great. Now we have a reference point, and it would only be honorable to me now to say, oh, season one went too fast, season one went too slow. Let's get season three right in the middle. But to say that a season one of a show is too fast, how do you know that? And you can't say that because of source material, because that's not true either. You have no idea how we're gonna pan this out. This is a TV show. We could do anything in any episode for however many amount of seasons. So 30 years is just 30 years. I can do 30 years in one episode and it'll be damn good television. It's however you set it up.
That's kind
So,
of what they did. Yeah.
that's my thing. Go ahead and finish. Go ahead and
But
finish, Nap, and then I'll let
no,
Nap
no,
speak.
like no, your points are very valid. Like I agree with what you're saying, but I just feel like we are giving the show writers too much slack. And like I said, you can only do so much, but at the same time, my gripe is they try to think they're better than George R. R. Martin. And now whoever said that he took too long to finish the books, I feel like that's short sighted. Writing is like being a good writer is probably one of the most difficult things in the world. And when you hit writer's block, you don't know how long it's going to take you. So we like the I think it was a Dance with Dragons, the fifth book in the Song of it came out 13 years ago. But that's no problem. Like I I wouldn't have minded if they just stopped after season 5 of Game of Thrones. I wouldn't have minded. I really wouldn't have. But don't go rush things and then you make a piss of it because you got hired to direct the next Star Wars and you thought you were better than what you were currently working on. I feel like that's insulting. So George R. R. Martin, take all the time you need because if he like gives us Winds of Winter and he gives us bullshit, I might ask for his head. And I like don't rush it. Don't rush it.
Not Damon
No,
in
for
the
real.
chat.
Take your
Uh,
time, man. But
That
the
man is
writer
a New
should do the
York
same.
Football
you,
Giants
you
fan.
can't.
He watches the Giants every Sunday of football season. He can sit down and write. I'm sorry, I don't have that much sympathy knowing that much about him.
Writing is the hardest
Matt,
thing
go
in the
ahead.
world, bro. It to write this
Go,
good, you can't even dream of writing this good. I promise.
go ahead, Matt. Thank you, Nap, and then Angela. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I think something that we're coming to terms with, right, is that when season one came around, it was kind of like a comfort thing. It was the newness of the show combined with a return to a very comforting and familiar locale. We're back in Westeros. We know these houses. We know House Targaryen and Stark and Lannister and all this. And there was sort of a honeymoon phase, right, where we were just so happy to be back in Westeros, back in this wonderful world that is like really well crafted. And because of that, we were able to kind of like let things slide a little bit. There was no expectations really, not that there wasn't any expectations, but we were just kind of, hey, listen, we're just happy to be here, just happy to have a Sunday back. 2 years later, there's now expectation. Now we're saying like, okay, this show was meant to right some of the wrongs that were in Game of Thrones, especially late stage Game of Thrones, and now we're starting to kind of like pick up on some of the things that we didn't like with late stage Game of Thrones that are also kind of here. There's a quote from House that always stuck with me. He says to the camera at one point, he goes, walking gives the illusion of the story moving forward. And I think kind of push back on what Tej was saying earlier. I don't think it's necessarily that we need huge set pieces, but we're in the same locale, the same three locales for the entire season, which is Harrenhal, Dragonstone, and what's the one that I'm missing? King's Landing. It feels as if they're stagnating a bit because it's where's Damon? Damon's in Harrenhal. Damon's in Harrenhal and he's tripping, and it's been 4 episodes and he's still there and nothing has really happened. Like you could have at least given us a minor skirmish between, I don't know, a portion of Cole's army and a portion of the people that Damon collected, right? You could have given us something that kind of gave the illusion of the story moving forward. So I do really believe that the pacing of this season was it's not that the exposition was bad. It was uneven and it was drawn out in a way that just kind of made it feel a little bit really kind of just when I say uneven, I mean the quality of everything. That scene with Allison and Rhaenyra in Dragonstone, it didn't make sense from a narrative perspective. There's no way Alicent would ever do that in the books. It makes no sense. But we put up with it because it was really well acted. And I'm sorry to these two women who have to basically carry the scene because it doesn't make sense when you stop and think about it. But they were so good together that you didn't really stop. You might have said, this doesn't seem like it makes the most sense. It feels kind of unnecessary. She's telling Rhaenyra to run away with her. What the fuck? Why would she say that? Rhaenyra's about to be queen. That's nonsense. But you put up with it because it's a rare instance of the characters being good enough to carry the entire show. With Game of Thrones, right? Early on, it's like you have 20 different teams, 20 different groups of people. They're all interesting in their own ways. They're all fully fleshed out. They're incredibly well acted, and they're drawing from tons and tons of source material. With this, you only have two sides. We know what the conflict is and what the conflict is going to be, and it's just not anywhere near as much to draw from. So I think that kind of leaves the cast having to do so much heavy lifting. And when we see them in the same place as they were physically in the same place as they were at the start of start of episode 1, it kind of makes you feel like, damn, that's it.
Right. I think this episode works if it's season 2, episode 8, and we get episode 9 and 10. I think it works well if we do that. And yes, Emma Darcy and Olivia cook every time they're on screen. But it felt, I'm not going to say it in this. I didn't want to say it in this way, but it felt a little cheap. It felt like y'all threw that in later. Y'all threw that in again because it worked so well the first time. Obviously, it didn't because we know how TV shows are made. But that scene was like, we already got this. And to your point, again, we don't have problems with exposition. We don't have problems with a lot of this stuff if it's good. We don't have problems with 3 locations in a season if every time we're in the location, we're having the time of our lives. And that's what it is. I want to welcome Joy Taylor to the stage. Hey, sis.
Hi.
We're talking about how we felt about season 2. Quite frankly, we've covered a lot of ground, but my take is this. This works as season 2, episode 8 with 2 more episodes, number 1. And number 2, we needed more dragons. We needed more death. We needed to move forward. I think someone made a good point earlier. Season 2, we're walking on a treadmill. We're getting our exercise. All right, there's some calories being burnt here. But season 1, at least we were covering some distance. We were on a track. And that made sense. But Joy, talk to us. Tell us
Was
how
there
you felt.
even any sex in season 2?
Barely.
Damon and his mom in his dream.
Damon and his mom, and then we got some lesbian scenes, which were
Oh,
brought
yeah,
up
but that
earlier.
wasn't sex. That was just like a light making out. Boring. I needed more. The thing about it is like I don't feel like I got anything. I got a cranky son. I got like a fake breakup. I got it was just mid. Like the energy was mid. Let's just be honest. Like the best scene was the dragon scene. Thankfully our girl, died in valor. So at least we had that, from the dragon scene. I appreciated that much. But like for you to have all this setup, 2 whole seasons of setup, for there to not be any carnage, like baby, was it a budget issue? Like what was the issue?
Is it the dollars? And this is what we've been saying, right? Like, we are some sickos. We're some fucking sickos.
I'm
All right?
watching a
Where is
dragon
the
show.
carnage?
Like, what do dragons do? They fuck shit up. There's no fucking of shit up. I didn't even get to see him torch the little joint that he torched with the little place. What do you call it?
Yes, the
The
little town,
town.
the
Yeah,
little
we didn't even
village.
see that. They was just like, oh, by the way, he cooked this other little town we should probably start moving.
It,
I just feel like
we
they did not, the ending was terrible. Like, let's just be honest. Like the finale was, I don't, what are the mysteries? Like, the whole thing is to solve the mysteries, and you gave us more mysteries. In fact, not more mysteries, in fact, the same mystery that we were visiting in season 1. So whoever just said that, correct. It was just the same thing we were wondering about from season 1. So that's that. And then in the end, there was no intensity. There was never a moment of uncomfortable. And why do I gotta watch Damon sleep for 2.5 episodes? Just cut Damon's nap to like one episode, and then fill in the other episodes where we was watching Damon sleepwalk with some dragons and some war. Like, what are we doing? I feel like I needed to be stimulated. There was no sex, and you know
there was no killings. There's no sex.
what am I watching this for?
What are we? Here's the
Listen,
thing,
I'm
and
a degenerate.
Tej,
This is what we watch this show for, okay? And
exactly.
I don't. You got to do something like it. Like, what? Gone are the days of Ramsey. I mean, please make me uncomfortable.
Gone are the days of Ramsey. I referenced episodes in season 6, 7, and that's the end of Game of Thrones because those things worked. And I mentioned that earlier. Show me Vagar burning up the town and people screaming and crying on fire. Show me that. Don't just tell me that and then tell me that you're mad and show a character mad about it. Don't introduce a new character in ASOS. Did you remember that, Joy? We got a new character in ASOS and he got to fuck the wives, or he was asked to fuck the wives of a woman. It's like that's not
Oh
giving
yeah, yeah, yeah,
finale.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then they just
The
on a boat. We
reason
not gonna meet the wives. Where's the wives at? I'm trying to watch the wife orgy. And now you got
give me
we
a
just on the boat. We just didn't have no fun. We ate you done thrown him around in some mud. Okay, and then you're off to break the blockade. This cursed blockade, which we never see either. And you just we didn't meet not one wife. I'm trying to see the baddies. Like, what?
Thank you. We loved Game of Thrones because of the Dornish women. Give me some of the Dornish baddies. Show me these women of the wives and stuff. And I'm gonna let Tej speak, but Tej, I gotta tell you that this is why. Can y'all hear me? Am I lagging? I feel like
We
No,
I'm
hear
you're
you.
good.
lagging.
You're good.
I'm good. Okay. Why do we watch House of the Dragon? I think, there was a lot of pushback in here. Here's why we watch House of the Dragon. Okay. Because Game of Thrones worked until it didn't. Okay. And we loved, there's a reason why this is not House of the Lannister, House of the Starks. There's a reason why. It's House of the Dragon because we like the fucking dragons. This is the story of the fall of the Targaryens. We are not being honest if we don't say that the fall of the Targaryens, the fall of the House of the Dragon, isn't because there was a lack of their gods, the dragons. And so, yes, I it's disingenuous to say, hey, we just want to see people talking in a room all of the time, and it doesn't make it a better show with more dragons. It absolutely does, because the fall of House Targaryen isn't the fall if we didn't have those 3 little dragon eggs left only for Daenerys to take care of. That is the fall. So I need to see these dragons doing things, and I need to see them dying, because I know that the House of Targaryen would still be here if they didn't all perish. Like, what are we talking about? So go ahead, Tej. I'll let you go. But to me, this is why we're here. This is why we're at what we watch. This is why we watch.
Apparently, y'all weren't as uncomfortable as I was when Aegon said that his dick got split like a sausage. I was very uncomfortable. I was extremely, extremely uncomfortable. That was disgusting. And I'm glad they didn't show that to us. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to see his little sausage. I don't want to see nothing like that. I was very uncomfortable.
Disagree.
I don't know.
Disagree. I don't know if I'm out or not, but I
It,
disagree. Show the sizzling sausage.
show the half a sausage. Show the half a sausage. Go ahead, Angela. Talk to us.
Okay. Before Joy came in, I was actually gonna say that men just love violence. But I can't use that take
Men
anymore.
and me and Joy.
Um, but I think the final conversation between Rhaenyra and Alicent, I know some people are saying, "Oh, we already saw this," but I think it's very important to notice that Alicent has changed. She's done a complete 180 from where she was previously because she was like, "Okay, if you got to kill my son, go ahead and kill my son." Before, last time we saw that her son was in harm's way, she was literally trying to shank Rhaenyra in season 1 where when Aemon lost his eye. Like, she's like, all right, listen, I just gotta get the fuck out. If you need to kill him, kill him. Like, I'm gonna be fine. The second thing I want to say, I feel very bad for laughing when Aemon told Helena to get on her dragon because, like, she's not about this. Like, like, I was like, bro, leave her alone. Like, let her go color. Like, she's not about this. Like, she's not about the violence. I was like, I understand why
Let her go color is
she
crazy.
don't she
But
don't
you're right.
she don't need to be in the she don't need to be in nobody's field. She panic she has a panic attack every time she goes outside. Like, she does not need to be on a dragon, bro. Read the room, Aemon. Like,
Read
come on, bro. Be serious.
and let me add on and let you finish because you spitting. Here's the thing, and I told you guys this a couple episodes ago. There's about 3 people on dragons that don't need to be on dragons. All right, and Ulf is 2 of them. Okay, and Helena's 1 of them. All right, get that motherfucker off that dragon right now.
Fuck Ulf.
Get him off the Silver Wing right now. And Helena, here's the real fall of the House of the Dragon was that y'all put Ulf and Helena was chosen by one. Now I really gotta question your gods now, Targaryens. I gotta question your gods because apparently they were chosen, by the gods. And I gotta question them now. That's why you fell. I promise you, mark my words, Ulf is going to be a huge reason why the Team Black and the House of the Targaryen fails. Huge reason. No way you're crowning people like Ulf and you are not destined for a complete disaster. But go ahead, Angela or Larry July, go ahead.
No, and just to close it out, I just want to rebuke one thing. I saw a lot of people on the timeline calling Corlys a deadbeat father. He's not a deadbeat. He was good to the kids he claimed. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Everyone with his last name, he was a good father to them. How was he supposed to know he had 2 black kids in boats? All right, I think we're being unfair to that black man. That's all.
He knew. He knew. He knew.
Tease, because Tease got a problem with the way Rhaenyra and Daemon are raising their black children as stepchildren. All right, are you giving Corlys a pass too,
Fuck no, I'm
Tease?
not giving Corliss a pass. And I, for one, thought it was incredible television that Adam told him what's what. I had a great time watching it. Adam had to tell that man, Corliss, who started the conversation, kept trying to dismiss him, saying, "You are dismissed." No, nigga, now you got me mad. Now you're gonna hear my mouth, bro. Now I'm gonna give you these bars. And I thought Adam dressed him down, and I thought that was incredible cinema. And that was probably one of my favorite scenes of the season, and definitely of the episode. I'm Corliss needed that, bro. That's a deadbeat dad. He ain't shit, bro. That's crazy.
I disagree. I fully disagree.
He
Here's the thing.
is
Here's the
definitely an
thing.
ancient father. What do you mean? He
Yeah,
knew
how can
them
you
babies
defend
was
that?
his. He gonna walk past them
Hold,
little cold
hold,
babies his whole life and
hold,
talk about trying to
It,
tell them,
it's it's
hold
hold
up,
very
on a
what
easy
you
to
want?
defend that. It is so easy to defend that.
hold on a second. And who's that speaking? Nap, I'm gonna let you
Y'all
speak. And
nasty.
hold on
Everybody
one
knows Monique is
second.
for deadbeat dads. That's apparently what you're saying. That's what you're saying to us.
First of all, Omni Man is a great father, and all of you are wrong. Secondly, let's get back to House of the Dragon. Corlys is grieving, okay? He is grieving the loss of his wifey, who actually did something in this damn season, unlike many of your other faves. That's number one. Number two, sure, Adam or not? What's the guy's name? What's the son's name? Lord,
Adam is the
I'm bad with
noble.
Adam and
English. I don't know.
Alan.
Adam, right? Alan is on Sea
Correct.
Right.
Smoke. It's Adam. Adam, sweetie, y'all not really wartime. Y'all don't know. I've seen wars, okay? I've been in wars. I feel like the council around Team Black, who ain't never really seen a war, but I've seen war, okay? Y'all not really war ready. Now is not the time to show your father up because you have never been in a war. You have never sailed in a war, Adam. This is not the time to talk about how you miss your dad. Your dad knows what's going on. Your ego needs to calm down, Okay, we understand that your dad was not available for most of the time. Not right now. Can we talk about that next episode after we're on sale? There's thousands of people's lives in your hand across the oceans and the seas right now. Not right now, bro, because you're not as good as your dad, whether he was present in your life or not. That was my issue with that shot or that scene. I love it. Talk your dad down. Not right now.
Man,
All right. It's
I'm
the
a
same thing.
die real is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say what I need to
He,
say, and I'm gonna
you gonna
die
also
a
have
real
other
one.
people
I'm gonna
dying.
die a real one. If I'm finna get cooked on this
Nah,
little blockade of
it's
this dragon, I'm gonna go down real.
and you gonna bring other people with you.
Listen,
There are other
there
people on
is
that boat.
sacrifice that's gotta happen, and sometimes that's what it is.
No,
But I'm gonna die
y'all worried about the
real.
wrong things. We were at war. It's the same thing I said with Rhaenyra and Mysaria. I am all pro homosexuality and queerness. Shout out to the ancestry and all the kind of stuff happening in the show. Not right now, Rhaenyra. Come on now, you can't get distracted right now. Okay? Your people barely fuck with you. Your council is always going against you. It's not the time to fall in love with a girl and have these little moments. And you can't even handle it because the minute you got caught, you stood there like a little, like a little stick, like a little tree, like no one could see you. We see you. We see you. You're falling in love with a person that is known to be for anybody that will give them power at any time. No shade, Mysaria, we should all move like that, quite frankly. But not right now, Rhaenyra. And I think that was Adam was a not right now, Adam. Listen to your father, swallow that for a sec. We've got a war. But then we didn't get the war, so it was like, well, fine, I guess have your moment, Adam. Go ahead, Larry July, you had your hand up, and then Nap Escobar. Talk to me.
Hey, what's good? So first of all, I just want to say that I thought I was the only degenerate thinking that the season lacked sex, but the fact that Joy Taylor is on my side, I feel vindicated. So but I think, yeah, Corliss is definitely an ain't shit dad. Agree with Alan. Like he had him fucked up, and yeah, you got to get that shit off your chest. You're about to sail out to sea to never see the people you love again, and yeah, talk your shit. I mean, Corliss is like he's on Frank Mitchell levels of terrible fathers. I think that he's on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, the man's
Okay.
about to send two of his sons to die after losing his wife, and he can't even like take them as his sons
But
still.
nah, y'all don't respect black
Monique, how
fathers.
many
I
times
re-
has he
no,
been asked about
I
these kids
respect
now?
I
He
respect
literally
black.
keeps saying, I've heard about them. Yeah, I heard they do good work. Nigga, those are your children.
I
Said I
respect black.
heard about them.
I
He
respect.
walked past him serving kids every day, talking like he didn't see them kids.
He was like
Okay, Adam may have got his bars off, but I don't feel like y'all respecting Corliss as a human being.
the thing.
Okay, we're all
The thing I
imperfect.
wanted to.
Go ahead, Larry July, but fine. Maybe he had some
I,
lapses in
I
fatherly
respect all
judgment.
black fathers, but especially the ones who claim their children. But the thing I forgot to mention earlier was the season we've all discussed about how slow it may have been or things we would have changed, but I did read that the showrunners were planning to have 10 episodes, and I assume that maybe they wrote for that, and that Warner Brothers Discovery cut funding and cut the season to 8 episodes. So I wonder how much that played into it. Like for example, Otto Hightower was mentioned, I believe, in episode 7, but we don't see him in it, and we don't see him in episode 8 until the very, very end. He's not even in like we don't see him play a part.
And
So I wonder if maybe they were
and why is he locked up with the sun
so,
barely
so
shining
I
in his
wonder if
face?
that's part of the showrunners just not moving the story along like we've said, or is it because they were planning on episode 9 and 10 and not getting it, which I think leads to a larger argument about why are all these shows like just every show nowadays, great shows, bad shows, mediocre shows. The episodes are just being cut to sing. It drives me crazy, but that's a different argument. And the last thing I just want to say is
Agreed.
Jace. That's another issue I forgot to bring up. His story the whole season was just being mad and pouting that he's not happy with his mom's decisions, but he's not doing anything about it. He's not furthering anything. He's not having confrontations. He's not going to it's just he's just being upset. He's having it's life of a teenage drama queen.
I told you guys earlier we'd talk about the industry at some point and how it affects television, and you kind of introduced a topic thereof. I'm gonna re-ask my question from earlier. Joy, Angela, Nem, Matt, I want your answers too. think about your favorite TV show, get it in your head right now, and then think about season 2 of your favorite TV show. Think about season 2 of your favorite TV show, what you remember, if you can remember anything. How amazing was it? Was it better than season 1? Right? Think of season 2 of one of your favorite TV shows and let's talk about it. From an industry perspective, right? Money. Money, Tej, you said it earlier, capitalism. Money, capitalism, viewership, right? All of these things matter, right? The reason why House of the Dragon works is because Game of Thrones was successful. We don't get House of the Dragon if Game of Thrones is not as successful as it was, right? So we get this prequel, sequel, predecessor kind of thing going, and it's successful because everyone loves the stories that George R.R. Martin wrote. That's important. Now, when we have House of the Dragon, we depart from the source material. We do have to pay attention to how these things are going to make us money. And so if there is any talks about the fact that season 2, episode 8 was supposed to just be that and not season 2, episode 8 finale of season 2, that makes a lot of sense. Because when we have these characters that we've introduced, like TJ said, Game of Thrones is a vast 7-kingdom world. We're in one kingdom, fiefdom, whatever you want to call it for House of the Dragon. So we have a much smaller, character list. We have a much smaller, just relatively speaking, a much smaller character list, a much smaller storyline, right? We're kind of on a one-track path, and we've already seen the result of this path. So from a business perspective, how do we pace out? How do I pitch this portion of the Game of Thrones lore for House of the Dragon? Do I do 3 seasons where most of the most successful drama shows on HBO are 1 to 3 seasons? That is just a fact. Some of the most successful shows. Now, there are some that just do so well based on the star power, based on the comedy, based on all of that run for many seasons, a la Curb, right? And so these things matter because this story does not stand alone. So why do we get 3 seasons or maybe 4 seasons? And how important is it to succeed in season 2? That matters. So I want to talk about season 2 of your favorite TV show. Tej, talk to me about it. And how did you feel in that moment? And hopefully, just for comparative reasons, it's a drama. Think of a drama and not a sitcom or like a comedy drama, which can kind of, change things a bit. I'll even throw out Insecure, shout out Issa Rae. That was successful because after seasons 1 and 2 and 3, there was so much viewership. What we watched was on top of all of that we got 4, 5, and 6, right? So go ahead, Teach.
Unfortunately, I can't say something to be different and edgy and cool because my favorite show is The Wire. Season 2 of The Wire is extremely controversial. A lot of people do not like it. It is a step down from season 1, but even at the time I was watching it, I really enjoyed it. Like it's an incredible season of television, and compared to season 1, there is a drop off, but compared to any other season of any other show that's not operating at the level The Wire operates at, it's phenomenal. And The Wire seasons 3 and 4 jump right back up and go super crazy. So in the grand scope of things, it's fine. And every time I rewatch season 2, I always realize how much I really enjoy it. Although you see the things that people complain about, and you see the things that maybe annoyed you the first time you watched it, it's still a very incredible season of TV. So but I also like this season of TV. So maybe I'm the wrong person to ask. But I do like your point. You take your point that a lot of times when you come out the gate firing with a season 1 and you acquire your fans early on and your fans are already on the bandwagon waiting for more, it's not easy to give them a season 2 that is at the same level, let alone even better. There are very few examples of a fan base agreeing across the board that season 2 is better than season 1. And there probably is even hard to find a lot of shows where the fan base agrees that season 1 and season 2 are of equal quality. So I think it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and the challenge there is because, like you said, we got the viewership. We're establishing how successful it is with season 1. What type of money are we getting? And okay, we probably already got season 2 written. Season 2 is probably already written. Now, this is a different conversation with Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon because we have source material. But still, let's just call it what it is in the television world. We probably already have season 2 written. But how are we going to manage the budget? How are we going to manage if we're going to go to season 3? In season 2, how much of what could possibly go into season 3 do I push or do I keep? It's very difficult. Season 2, quite frankly, in a lot of shows is exposition or just a reattempt at what succeeded in season 1. It's a very difficult season of TV to write. But go ahead, Joy. What's your answer? And then Angela and then Nem.
Um, are we thinking of an example of a show that then made it to season 3?
Yes, maybe so. Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's important. The Wire made it to 5 seasons. We could talk about that too,
to
but go
me,
ahead.
like one of my favorite shows of all time is True Detective. But True Detective season 1 was a masterpiece. And it was written perfectly, it was executed perfectly, it was acted perfectly. It was just, to me, it had every element of what a compelling standalone show, standalone story would have. It had a monstrous villain that they introduced immediately. It had many twists and turns and levels and complicated protagonists. Like, it was just brilliant. And then the second season made no sense. Like, there was the bad guy turned out to like be kind of bad, and then we left Vince Vaughn in the desert for some reason, and there was just no explanation for all of these very random characters being in each other's space. No one was really mean enough for me to get excited about, and I kept trying throughout the rest of the series to get interested, and I was beaten down by the lack of original writing. But you know,
Right.
I don't know if that's the example we're looking for, but to me, it was just
No.
the first season was just so brilliant. But honestly, after watching the first season, I knew that the other seasons weren't going to be able to compete because, as you know, I'm a villain person, and the villain in the original True Detective was just too spectacular in the sense that it was so bad and it explored the darkest levels of humanity that I didn't know how they could have possibly topped it when they introduced the concept of
Right.
season 2, and it was like, yes, the occult's influence on the you know uh, infrastructure of Los Angeles. I was like, ooh, I can get into that. That sounds creepy.
Right.
And then it just wasn't about that at all.
Right.
So yeah, that's my example.
Yeah, sis, I had a feeling you'd bring up True Detective, and I'm glad you did because, I also watched True Detective season 1 and tried to watch True Detective season 2, and that's, so this is a special perspective to bring up because that's an anthology series. So each season is supposed to stand alone. So continuity is not necessarily a thing from a creation and show running perspective. But from a viewer perspective, continuity matters in that what we expect from the show. So season 1 of House of the Dragon, the pacing, whatever we got, we expected it in season 2. And in season 1 of the House of the Dragon finale, we got the killing of a baby over on dragons. We got a lot of stuff. We didn't even see a lot of dragons in season 1. To your point, Tej, there wasn't as many dragons in season 1 as there's season 2. But it's not just the dragons. It's the dragons doing things. It's people dying. It's stakes continuing to rise. The stakes plateaued in season 2 for me. And it doesn't make it a bad season of television. It just makes it that season 2 finale couldn't keep up with season 1, and it might damn near not keep up with season 3. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make here, right? Is that season 2 of a lot of these shows, we've already established kind of what we expect. And so it's not only that you can't top season 1, we even just be as good as season 1 and then it works, right? But it's tough. Go ahead, Nem. What's your favorite show and how many seasons was it? And True Detective, how many seasons? 4? 4, right?
Yeah, the one that they just did was 4.
Yeah, so 5 seasons of television, 4 seasons. Nem, talk to us.
Yeah, The Wire is for me too. I didn't appreciate season two until like after the series ended because when it was happening live, it was like, oh, our show got popular, it's getting gentrified. So it's like nobody was tuned in for season two at first, and so and so when it came back, season three, season four, it started to fill the full picture of everything. So I'm hoping that for House of Dragons, um, because in the moment of itself, everybody was too upset about the drastic change to appreciate the story. And then once
Right.
everything progressed, you could come back and be like, oh no, wait, this is a really fire season. Especially when you see how it integrates into the full system of like the criminal underbelly around Baltimore. So see, I learned to appreciate that later. I'm hoping we get something similar for House of Dragons,
Right.
but
Hopefully we come
the
back, address this episode, and say, you know what, season 2 wasn't that bad.
yeah, and I think they
No,
just
we didn't
stepped
say it was bad.
away. Yeah, yeah,
It's
but
great.
I
It's a great
think
season.
from because it only had 8 episodes, and I know that they always go buck wild on episode 9. So I was kind of expecting the fact that this was going to be kind of they're going to make this a calm before the storm type ending. But I do think we were running in place too long.
Agreed. Agreed. Running in place too long. Treadmill versus, cross country. Matt, talk to us.
My fault was washing dishes. So, for me, it was Breaking Bad, and
Okay.
Breaking Bad, in my opinion, is much better in season 2 than season 1. It starts off kind of slow in season 1. It's a bit of a slow burn, and by season 2, things have gotten kind of crazy. It introduces Saul Goodman, Jane, who dies, along with her father crashing the plane, and it kind of like sets off a whole chain reaction that reverberates throughout the rest of the show. Great season of television. Damn, I might go back and rewatch that now that I think about it. But my bad, Mo. Yeah,
Love that.
Mo, where are we going with this again? My fault.
No, I just, I'm glad you're doing your chores. It's good. Take care of home. No, we were just talking about your favorite TV show ever, and how did you actually feel about season 2? Because we're at House of the Dragon season 2, and we've obviously shared quite a few criticisms of the finale itself. Not to be confused with how great the season was,
Right.
right? And I think that there's two different conversations we're having here. One is how we felt about the finale versus how we felt about the season as a whole. But that's why I bring it up. For any reasonable, we are here at What We Watch. This is your founder. I'm here to help you guys, and let's, facilitate the discussion. Is it that bad? Let's go back to your favorite episode, your favorite show. How was season 2 of your favorite show? Maybe this is just kind of on par with, and we should, just enjoy the ride while it's happening, even though season 2 finale wasn't that great. But go ahead, Nap Escobar,
My,
talk
my
to us.
fault.
What's
Can I just
yours?
round it out real quick?
Go
I
ahead.
still
Yeah.
say the episode where the Queen Who Never Was, when Rhaenys dies. I still think that was far and away the best episode of the series.
The Queen Who Ever was actually the
No,
title of this
the Queen Who
episode.
Ever Was the finale. The Queen Who Never Was. I'm
Yes.
referring to the one where,
Oh, you're
right, where she goes out and takes on Aemon, and then no, excuse me,
also sorry. I have another gripe. Thank you for
go
bringing
for it.
this up. Good point. The Queen Who Ever Was. All right. How did season 2 finale address that?
That's the name of his
Did
boat.
we
He
actually?
changed the name of his boat to the Queen Whoever Was. That's the
No, the name of his boat, The Queen Who Never
no.
Was.
That why would he call his
Ever
boat the
ever
insult?
was. It was ever was.
Ever was.
Okay, so the name of his boat is The Queen Who Ever Rose. Adam's boat or Alan's boat.
Well, it's
Corliss's
Corley's
boat.
boat, but yes.
Okay,
Adam
I just
doesn't own a
wanted y'all to
boat.
say
Adam
that.
barely has a
I
home.
I
Adam
set
is
that up for
broke.
y'all to say that.
Adam doesn't even have a
Y'all are
father.
trying to keep a black man down. I just want to let y'all know y'all trying to keep a black man down. And this show was literally the episode and the finale was literally named after his boat. That's all I'm gonna say. You can go ahead and go next. Uh, Clearly he know what he talking about. But go ahead, Nap Escobar. Y'all trying to keep a black man down. And I don't defend black men this often. I don't defend men in general. But what we're not going to do is act like Corliss wasn't in there. I know, guys. I'm back in my bag. What we're not going to do is act like the first person to respect Rhaenyra as queen in that council room, because we sat in that council room multiple times and our girl was disrespected and demeaned and she never made a head roll, and I resent that. But Corliss defended her and stood up for her. So that's what I wanted to say about Corliss there. Go ahead, Nap Escobar.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that regards. So, and then as compared to season 2 of our favorite show, so I've been sitting here trying to think what's my favorite show of all time, and I've seen a lot of shows, and I think it comes back to I not to sound like cheesy, but I think Game of Thrones is probably my favorite show of all time. Like it's between that or The Wire, and I just go with this that because that's just my favorite show of all time. I don't know. Season 2 of Game of Thrones was better than season 1. for a lot of reasons. Because season one, it established like I hadn't read the books when season one came out. So after season head, and I'm like, what? So that ends. So I read all the books, and then season two comes out. I'm like, what? And then like after during while season two of House of Dragons was being like premiered, I was also congruently watching Game of Thrones at the same time just to compare. And then you'll see like if you go on TikTok, for some reason my TikTok has just been like Olympics and Game of Thrones, and you can see it in like all the comments when everyone, because when Robert Baratheon says gods, I was strong back then. Everyone in the comments is commenting gods, the writing was good back then because they know the writing carried the show. The writing carried, and season two had some of the best writing. I get like
Mm,
with with
I feel you.
with Robb Stark taking control of the North, summoning the banners, defeating Jamie Lannister and Whispering Woods, defeating Tywin,
I
Blackwater.
feel
So
you.
like I
Yeah.
think season two of Game of Thrones was a lot better, but that just also happens because there was source material. So maybe that's why.
That's
That's
true.
why.
It's very true. Quincy, welcome to the stage. Are you a new What We Watch person? Welcome
Yeah,
to the
yeah, I'm
chat.
new. I'm new. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Big fan of
Yeah,
yours. Yeah.
thank
Um,
you.
you and Joyce. Yeah, Joy Taylor. This is what I want to say. I love House of Dragon and Game of Thrones. The finale was great. You know, it made me. I gotta wait 2 years to see season three, but yeah, I liked it. First of all, that ship was called the Queen Who Never Was because to honor his wife or niece. Yeah, and
Ever. It's
I just
ever was.
I swear it said never. All right, but
Quincy,
okay,
I
well,
thought I was crazy. It says never was on the
it's
boat and then
never.
it's
I
ever
really
was
think
in the
it's never.
episode.
It's never. The episode is called The Queen Who Ever Was, but the ship he called it The Queen Who Never Was because he called it the sea snake on to honor himself because of all the gifts that he did to himself or the accomplishments. But he wanted to do it for his wife, so he said The Queen Who Never Was. The ship is called The Queen Who Never Was. But all right, honor that. But I love how Corliss and his bastard son, how they talked. That was a real great acting job that both of them did. That was like basically saying like, I don't need your help. I decline any kind of help from you. You know, I just it was great. The show is just amazing to me. Um, uh, Damon
I agree.
actually bowing down to Rhaenyra to like it was the first time I seen a man bow down. Someone like him actually bowing down to the queen and the visions he's had. There's not much I can say. I love it. I'm ready. I hope they
No.
introduce more magic but yeah, that's all I gotta say, man.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. Thank you. No, I agree. I think, you know what, and that's something that I didn't say, and I do want to be clear about that for sure. The scene with Corliss and his son that, you guys have your own reasons and ways to feel about Corliss as a father, it's very hard, okay? Things are happening. Maybe I'm just, maybe because I don't have no children's, maybe I'm just giving people, because again, if you're new here, we do this at What We Watch. I'll defend Omni Man. Practically the only villain that I could not defend is Homelander. I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm not gonna be able to do that. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the last thing on my mind to criticize Homelander is who he is as a father. His kid annoying too, respectfully. But I'm going to defend a villain. I don't even think Corliss is a villain. So like even the shot of him being a bad father to me, it's like that's baby stuff. It's fine. Not right now, guys. We have a war to fight. But I really did love the scene, is what I was saying all that to say. The scene was perfectly acted. Corliss, the actor that plays Corliss, and his son have been brilliant the entire time. Remember, we were introduced, we were in the same spot, just from a cinematography and storytelling perspective. We started off the season with them at the Sea Snake and all of that stuff. So to close that loop was really cool later on, you know, at the end of this season. And then on top of that, the scene with Damon bowing down to Rhaenyra, I'm still of the congregation that we spent way too much time in Harrenhal, you know, on Damon's acid trip. Way too much time for me. We didn't need all that, but it was really, really cool to see that Damon did enough acid to stop being so misogynist. I think that's okay. All right. I think he did enough drugs to where he was like, damn, women aren't so bad. And maybe everyone needs to do more drugs. I don't know what it is, but you know, and we can't, it can't be lost on us, because I didn't like the character herself, but only because I was comparing her to Lady Missandei. She was a boss bitch. But you know, I had a bit of an issue with the witch that was kind of like poisoning and helping him. But it's not lost on me. We can't honor Damon without honoring that she made him see that. She led him to the tree to feel all the blood spewing out and stuff, and show him the visions that ultimately you're going to have to stick together, because no matter what you do, winter is coming. And turn that all the way up. I think the writers, if you know, if Larry isn't completely incorrect about there probably being 2 more episodes, I think the writers might have thought we could hit with that, because that was a huge deal. That was a callback. We got a lot of scenes that we're very familiar with in Game of Thrones. Shout out Hard Home episode. Like, we know winter is coming. And so it doesn't matter. Y'all need to, you need to, whoever's going to be on that throne, ultimately doesn't matter. His brother visited him, Viserys. We got that scene too, because again, bro, whoever wears the crown, it's going to crush you. It's a metaphorical like weight, and it's going to weigh you down. And you got to make sure you actually want that. And so all of those together coming to where Daemon bows to Rhaenyra, chef's kiss. This finale isn't bad. It's just we were missing a couple of things that we wanted as the sickos that we are here at What We Watch. Go ahead, Teach, talk to me.
Somebody mentioned Breaking Bad. Love the comparison. We've been in this space
Yeah.
for this long, and we should at least mention the fact that, like Breaking Bad season 1, this season happened in the middle of the writer's strike. Now, the scripts were apparently already written, like before the strike started. But anyone who knows anything about how these shows are made knows that you're changing stuff on the fly. You don't just finalize a script and then you go into filming and nothing changes. Like, these things are constantly
Nothing changes.
changing, and so not being able to have writers around to make sure things made sense, make sure we were highlighting the right things, et cetera, et cetera. This doesn't work as well as we thought. Maybe we should do more of this. We might be seeing some of that at play in the season as well, in terms of what the final outcome was.
Excellent point. And not just writers, right? It's script editors, it's your EPs, it's everyone that's involved. These TV shows have a ton of people involved. The scripts see a lot of eyes before they go directly to those actors into production. So, you know, I love that you brought that up, and that is an excellent point. And we have been in here for an hour and 45 minutes, and I have loved every single second. Thank you guys for joining yet another chat with What We Watch on What We Watch Wednesday. To the point of the writer's strikes, please, 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 if you can in any way, if you can't show up, get a live Zoom pass. They're only $25. If you can't do that, donate however much you can to support and highlight these independent artists that I will be hosting and screening their films and their projects that were even created or even prior to or during the strikes, and show how we persevered through all of that as well, as writers, as directors, as editors, as producers, the perseverance that highlights the community of filmmaking at our What We Watch Film Festival, Kobe Day, August 24th. It's in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, as soon as I get off of this call, I have so much work to do. But I know a lot of you in here are going to be there, so I'm really excited to see you. And if not, again, get your live Zoom pass, donate, and support why we enjoy What We Watch, and why we can highlight these artists that make it possible for us to have these amazing conversations. I will see you next Wednesday for Industry HBO. Yo, this show goes so crazy. Catch up right now. Do not miss these conversations. If you're talking drama, sex, drugs, wealth, drama, sex, all right? If you're talking any of those things, you want to be here for this chat. So please tap in next Wednesday. Mahala Harold, Isabel, Kit Harington, the Jon Snow is showing up in this season. Again, shout out to you, Mickey Down, friend of the show and showrunner of Industry HBO. Ciao. See you guys later. Thank you. Bye.